The House will come to order. The pledge will be led by Allison Garskadden, Discovery Canyon Campus High School, Colorado Springs, Colorado.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Culler, please call the roll.
I'll find her. Representatives Arndt, Becker J, Becker K, Brown, Buck, Buckner, Carver, Conti, Corum, Representative Corum, Court, Danielson, Del Grosso, Dorr, Representative Dorr, it's not your turn.
Who are we?
Dorr? I haven't heard anything.
Representative Dorr excused.
Duran, Esgar, Everett, Fields, Foote, Garnett, Janal, Hamner, Humphrey, Representative Humphrey. Okay. Humphrey excused. Joshi, Kagan. Representative Humphrey is present. Klingenschmidt, Kraft Tharp, Landgraf, Lawrence, Lebsock, Lee, Leonard, Lontine, Representative Lontine, Lundeen, Representative Dorr is present. McCann, Melton, Mitch Bush, Moreno, Navarro, Neville, Nordberg, Representative Nordberg, Pabon, Pedersen, Primavera, Priola, Representative Priola,
I saw him out in the hall, but I don't know where he is now.
excused. Rankin, Ransom, Rosenthal, Rupe, Ryden, Sane excused. Salazar, Sias, Singer, Thurlow, Tyler, Van Winkle, Representative Van Winkle, Van Winkle, excused. Vigil, Willett, Williams, Representative Williams, okay, Wilson, Representative Priola is present. Windholes, Winter, Wist, Young, Madam Speaker.
Just a sec. With 63 present, 2 excused, a quorum is present. Representative West.
Good morning, Madam Speaker. It is an honor to serve with you.
And also with you.
I move that the reading of the Journal of March 2nd, 2016 be dispensed with and that it be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk.
You have heard the motion that the journal be adopted as corrected by the Chief Clerk. Seeing no objection, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. Announcements and introductions. Representative Arndt.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Today it's important to notice that we have some returned Peace Corps volunteers here. We are honoring them with the tribute, both in the joint tribute in the House and the Senate.
Representative Arndt, may I get some attention for you here? Members, would you please place your attention to the well? We're talking about doing a tribute here. Let's try to have a little order. Thank you very much.
So the tribute is to the returned Peace Corps volunteers and to the Peace Corps in general. I served in the Peace Corps in 1990 and 1992 in Morocco. This is a joint tribute with the Senate, and Senator Kafalis also served in the Peace Corps. Peace Corps has 3 goals. One is to help people in interested countries meet their needs for trained men and women. Number 2 is to promote a better understanding of Americans in those countries. And the third goal, which we're practicing today, is to promote a better understanding of peoples on the part of Americans. So today, the little bit of history on the Peace Corps started in 1961 by John F. Kennedy. 220,000 people have served in the Peace Corps and returned home. We've served in 140 different countries. Of the 7,000 Americans currently serving in the Peace Corps, the average age is 28. They're in 63 countries, and 7% of those people are over the age of 50. So why Colorado? Why are we doing this tribute today? Colorado has more RPCs, returned Peace Corps volunteers, per capita than any other state in the country. We also send more people to the Peace Corps. CU has number 5 all-time sender of universities to the Peace Corps. And that's hard for me to say when I'm up here representing CSU. DU is the second number of sending people to Peace Corps from their graduate school. And both Colorado College and Colorado State University are always in the top 20. So that's an impressive number. And I just, next year, as an early heads up, we'll probably run a license plate to honor all the returned Peace Corps volunteers. It's also important to know that the Peace Corps foundational documents were written at CSU. When the Kennedy administration sent out the RFP, CSU wanted, and a man named Maury Albertson really wrote the blueprint for the Peace Corps. So this is something Colorado can be extra proud of. And we have some returned Peace Corps volunteers over here today, and please join me in welcoming them.
Further announcements. Representative Ryden.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I think most of you know that today is KC, the Colorado State Chamber of Commerce Day at the Capitol. And I especially want to welcome our Aurora delegation. And we have with us in the House today, and I know there will be a fine coming, Dwight Taylor, who is currently chair of the chamber, and Tom Henley, who serves on the board. So please help me welcome them.
Welcome, and that's a $2 fine, Representative Ryden. Representative Lawrence, Madam Assistant Minority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I have a special guest on the side of the chamber over here, Jonathan Sandys. He is a speaker and author and the great-grandson of Sir Winston Churchill. So I just want to take a moment so that we can recognize Jonathan over here and thank him for being here.
Welcome, and that's a $2 fine, Representative Lawrence. Representative Young.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members of Appropriations, I have an announcement about our meeting tomorrow morning, 7:30, LSBA. As you can see from the calendar, we have several bills on the agenda. However, I do want to make a change for 4 of those. So let me read down the list of the bills that will be on the Appropriations calendar for tomorrow. House Bill 1184, House Bill 1229, Senate Bill 89, Senate Bill 90, Senate Bill 91, Senate Bill 92, Senate Bill 93, Senate Bill 95. Skipping over HB, House Bill 1275, skipping over a little bit more, House Bill 1060, House Bill 1070, House Bill 1103, and House Bill 1141. There are 4 bills in the printed calendar that we are going to lay over. House Bill 1129 will be laid over. House Bill 1059 will be laid over. House Bill 1009 will be laid over. And House Bill 1056 will be laid over. Thank you.
Representative Mitch Bush.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have 2 announcements, if I may.
Please proceed.
Thank you. First, I would very much like to welcome the chair of the Vail Valley Partnership, who's here today with a group of local chambers, Chris Romer. The Vail Valley Partnership brings together many communities and businesses throughout our valley, and they also support a wide variety of community charities, community activities, and they recognize community volunteers. So let's give a big hand for Chris. I'm not sure he's in the chamber.
And that's a $2 fine, Representative.
Thank you.
Please proceed.
No, that's the wrong Chris Romer. This is a man who is not related to any former governor of Colorado. This is an individual whose name is often confused with that other one. So he's not a former elected official. Second announcement, following on Representative Arndt's announcement about Peace Corps Day and Colorado contributing so significantly to the Peace Corps, I would like to recognize 2 people from Routt County who are not here to my knowledge today, one of whom has had 2 stints in the Peace Corps, one of whom has had 1. Both of them have had stints after they retired. And so my hat's off to Millie and Ben Bell.
Thank you, Representative Mitch Bush. That's another 2. Any further announcements and introductions? Seeing none, the next order of business is second reading, general orders. Representative Garnett.
Speaker, I move the House now resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of general orders.
You have heard the motion. Seeing no objections, Representative Garnett will take the chair.
Committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there is a request for reading a bill at length. Committee amendments will not be read unless requested, as they are printed and in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen and on your iPads and not read unless requested. Bills will be laid over upon motion of the Majority Leader. The coat rule is relaxed. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1118 until June 1st, based upon the sponsor's request.
Are there any objections? Seeing none, House Bill 1118 will be laid over as requested by the Majority Leader. Mr. Kohler, please read the title of House Bill 1136.
House Bill 1136 by Representative Esgar, also Senator Garcia, concerning requirement that a common carrier engaged in transportation of property by railroad have at least 2 crew members aboard a freight train while the freight train is moving.
Representative Esgar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1136 in the Transportation Committee report.
To the Transportation Committee report. Representative Esgar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, during the committee, we amended the bill with L002, which actually eliminates any fines or misdemeanors that were originally drafted in this bill. And we also put in some exemptions, including the crew member requirement that a railroad train or light engine operated by remote control in compliance with Federal Railroad Administrative rules is exempt, Halter services, utility service, and distributed power helper service. And we also put in the federal preemption, since there's a possibility that the feds could possibly vote on this at that level.
Is there any further discussion on the Transportation Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Transportation Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The Transportation Committee report passes. To the bill, Representative Esgar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, all this bill is doing is asking that the way carriers use freight trains through Colorado remain the same. Right now they have 2-person crews, and we ask that we keep it that way. Colorado has very unique landscape. We have very steep mountain passes. We have rolling hills. It's important when these hazardous materials are coming through every single one of our districts that the public's safety is the #1 priority. Making sure that there's enough eyes and ears and hands on the trains as these trains are coming through our communities is of utmost importance. And I want to repeat that this is the current practice. We're just asking that they maintain it. I urge a yes vote on 1136.
Representative Del Grosso.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, this is a bill that when you look at it on the surface, you think it's going in one direction. But this is a bill that definitely highlights that actions have consequences. I don't know if any of you were paying attention to the news this last week, but we just saw another coal mine in Colorado closed. Now, I know most of the people talking in this chamber might not care that close to 100 coal miners lost their jobs this week, and their families are now devastated. Paonia lost several high-paying jobs. That community will now be devastated. And I don't know if you also noticed this last week that close to 200 railroad workers were also laid off in Grand Junction or furloughed. This is several families that now won't be able to pay their bills. And when we talk about actions have consequences, and then I was also just informed today when I was looking at the news, one of my colleagues brought a story to me that Ezraz, the steel mill down in Pueblo, is also going to be stopping part of their production and laying people off as well. Actions have consequences. Prior legislatures here have passed policies which attack certain industries in our state. Policies in this chamber have directly attacked the coal industry. The coal industry is slowing down, and in several cases, coal mines are closing. Now, as I keep hearing some of my colleagues say, is this to the bill? Is this to the bill? Absolutely. This bill is about putting railroad workers back to work. I don't blame them for bringing this bill. I don't blame them for wanting to see several good men and women in the railroad industry working. But the reality is this is not the bill to do it. If you're angry that railroad people are being laid off, they need to be angry at the fact that policies from this chamber have shut down an industry which, oh, by the way, is one of the main industries that the railroad industry is tied to. They haul the coal. And when those coal mines close or slow down, there's less trains running. So therefore, there are less people employed in the railroad industry. So this bill highlights that actions have consequences. So when we attack an industry, not only do we put coal miners out of work, we also put railroaders out of work. We devastate communities. And now we see even in Pueblo, they make rail. But guess what? There's not as much of a need for that if there's less trains running. Now, I understand that there may be some people that feel guilty because past legislatures here have attacked industries and put people out of work, and so now they want to bring a bill to put some of those people back to work. But the reality is, I'm sorry that you feel guilty, and that's why you feel like you need to support this bill. But to go to an industry and say, yes, we've done several things here that basically have impacted your business. Yes, we have made poor choices as a legislature that have caused several of your members to lose their jobs. And now we're going to try to rectify that by bringing a bill and forcing an industry to hire those employees because there's been a slowdown in your industry, and now we're going to force you to hire them back and put them to work. Members, this is not good policy. We need to be mindful that what we do here has real-world impact, and it puts people out of work. I urge a no vote on 1136.
Representative Esgar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, I want to reiterate,
this bill doesn't ask, it mandates. And I don't believe this is a safety issue. It's about government getting involved in free enterprise, in private enterprise. They are already doing what we will be mandating here. We should not get involved in this. I ask for a no vote.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Esgar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, the question of a patchwork solution was brought up. And I just want to remind all of us that trucks come through our interstate from state to state. Colorado has safety requirements specifically for Colorado to keep the trucks on our Colorado roads safe. This isn't something new that we're coming up with. EMS has these regulations and rules, as well as air ambulances as well. As far as waiting for the federal government to make their decision, this has been in their queue since January of 2015. I don't want to continue to wait on the federal government to act and work together to come up with a solution. I urge an aye vote on 1136 to keep our Colorado communities and all of our districts safe.
Representative Quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You're absolutely right. Trucks are regulated. If you're going to run a truck, you have to have a U.S. Department of Transportation permit. You follow U.S. DOT rules. You have hours of service. There's many, many rules. But there's no rule that says a truck has to have 4 eyes in the truck. It says 1 driver, 11 hours. And it is safety. You're absolutely correct. But I have seen nothing that has proven to me that intervening and being the mediator in a government getting involved in management and union is good. They lost this in union negotiations. So this is an end run to try to get back what they lost. It's not our job to intervene in labor relations. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I truly believe that policies in this chamber have caused a slowdown in not only the energy industry, but also the rail industry. And if this bill is truly about putting people back to work, I move Amendment L006 and ask that it be displayed.
The amendment is properly before us. Please proceed, Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, the renewable energy standard has cost the loss of hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs in the state of Colorado. If we're truly wanting to put people back to work, and we're truly wanting to see these fine men and women go back to work in the rail industry, in the coal industry, let's take it a step forward. We'll say, okay, we'll pass this, but let's also meet them halfway. Let's lower the renewable energy standard, which is actually putting people out of work now. Let's do something about it, and let's help these people get back to work. I urge an aye vote on L006.
Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Renewable energy has contributed to a lot of jobs in Colorado, particularly in the rural areas. And as much as we would love to have that debate today, I challenge that this doesn't fit under the title.
The chair rules that the amendment does not fit under the title. Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I respect the chair's decision. I call on the body to say, how does an effective date not fit under the title of the bill? I understand we don't want to have that conversation. I understand that somehow an effective date, I guess, doesn't fit under the title of the bill. I'm very disappointed in the ruling of the chair, but decorum says the chair's decision is final. And even though an effective date somehow doesn't fit under the title of the bill, and we don't want to have a discussion about why people are losing jobs in Colorado and a discussion about how putting those people back to work, but I guess the chair has ruled that an effective date does not fit under the title.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Jay Becker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I think the point that the minority leader was pushing was there is a direct correlation with our energy regulations here in the state of Colorado and what's happening with the railroad at this point in time. That's what the point we're trying to make. So coming back and mandating an employment level directly correlates to what we're doing inside of the energy sector. This is not our position. This is not something that we should be doing, is getting into the middle of negotiations between a contract between the employees and the business. Last year, there was a bill that came through here, that a banking bill, and if I remember right, that bill was killed overwhelmingly, saying that we were getting into the middle of contract negotiations. Well, that's exactly what we're doing here. We're getting into the middle of negotiations on something that hasn't even yet happened. I would ask you to vote no.
Is there further discussion? Representative Neville.
Members, I spoke earlier about the patchwork of laws that we would have throughout different states and how this really should be at the federal level. But I want to reiterate some of the things that we heard in committee. We heard numerous testimony from the fine rail workers over and over about how this is business as usual, that this is the current practice that they use. that under their current contracts, this is what they do. They have multiple crews. Yet they were asking for a law in statute. Again, we've made the point, but I want to reiterate that this is really us searching for a solution to a problem that doesn't currently exist. Every example that they gave of incidents that had safety concerns, the examples already had multiple crew members being on board. And so that's another reason that I want to urge a no vote.
Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And we all heard the chair make a ruling here just a minute ago, and so I would like to move L007 and ask that it be displayed.
The amendment is properly before us. Please proceed, Mr. Minority Leader.
Members, we all heard in this chamber that somehow the effective date does not fit under the title. So I am trying to honor the chair and striking the effective clause out of the bill because we just heard that somehow the effective clause does not fit under the title. So therefore, I would like to honor the chair and take the effective clause out of the bill since it does not fit under the title.
Mr. Assistant Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The key difference between this amendment and the last amendment is this one doesn't mention the renewable energy standard. So I would argue this does fit under the title of the bill, and I ask for a no vote.
Mr. Minority Leader.
I'm glad that we can have this discussion. Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's no difference between the last amendment that failed and this amendment. What would be the difference if I just changed the effective date to 2020, 2025? We're just changing when the effective date applies. That's it. We could say the effective date, it'll become effective when there's a full moon and the stars have aligned and we can see all of the stars in the sky, whatever, it's all the same thing. I will withdraw L007. But to say that an effective date does not fit under the title, I argue that, well, then why even have an effective date?
The amendment has been withdrawn to the bill. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1136. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. House Bill 1136 passes. Mr. Kohler, please read the title of House Bill. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You're doing a great job up there. I move to lay over House Bill 1100 until March 7th.
Are there any objections? Seeing none, House Bill 1100 will be laid over as requested by the Majority Leader. Mr. Kohler, please read the title of House Bill 1165.
House Bill 1165, Representatives Becker, Kay, and Landgraf, concerning statutory changes based on the recommendations of the report of the 2013-15 Colorado Child Support Commission.
Representative Becker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee report, the Public Health Care and Human Services Committee report for House Bill 1165.
To the committee report, Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The committee report, the amendment clarifies which type of insurance that would apply to this bill. I ask for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The committee report passes. I don't.
We go to the bill.
The amendments to the bill, you got to do them now.
Right now, okay.
Representative Becker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L006.
Can you move the bill, please, first?
Oh, I'm sorry. I move House Bill 1165.
Thank you.
And I move L006 and ask that it be displayed.
The amendment is properly before us. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment is at the request of the Colorado Bar Association, the Family Law section that just wanted clarification about the sharing of family time. I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L006. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The amendment passes. Representative Becker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I ask that L008 be introduced. I move L008 and ask that it be displayed.
The amendment is properly before us. Please proceed, Representative Becker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment is also at the request of the Colorado Bar Association Family Law section. They wanted clarification about when information is exchanged between parents. All parties agreed to the amendment, and I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L008? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L008. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The amendment passes. To the bill. Representative Becker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. House Bill 1165 is a bill brought by the Colorado Child Support Commission. This commission is established by state law and federal mandate to periodically look at the laws which govern the award of child support. The commission is a diverse group of practitioners, judges, lawyers, parents, county officials that met for several years to come to compromise about which issues should move forward and therefore which parts of the statute should be changed. They met on issues ranging from overnights, defining overnights to defining notice requirements, from constituent concerns to common issues arising from staff and clients. The commission has duly reflected on the legislative issues most important to Colorado kids and presented this bill for their consideration. I ask for an aye vote.
Good job.
Representative Landgraf.
Oh. No, I'm good. I'm good.
Great. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1165 as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. House Bill 1165 as amended passes. Mr. Kohler, please read the title of House Bill 1255.
House Bill 1255 by Representatives Corum and Vigil concerning additional methods to manage forests to secure favorable conditions for water supply.
Representative Corum and Representative Vigil.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move House Bill 1255 in the Ag Committee report.
To the committee report.
Ag Committee report just change the date, strike January and insert July.
Is there any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The committee report passes. To the bill. Representative Vigil.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill simply is a bill that is a bipartisan bill. It's for our safety of our watersheds. It just really does a great job in being able to work with the community members, with federal government, the state government, and private industry that's out there. And this protects our watershed by being able to restore them, and it also ensures that we work together as a team in a community through a model called REACT. And I ask for a yes vote.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Corum.
Thank you, members. Listen up. There's 1.5 billion dead trees in Colorado. I wish you all would have had the opportunity to listen to our committee recently when we had the forest people talking how forest health and water quality are so related. So this is just a tool in the toolbox to help manage some of these forests and prevent devastating our water supplies. Interior Secretary Salazar called the Colorado forest situation the Katrina of the West. Members, it is serious. Many of you that live along the I-25 in the Eastern Plains don't get to see the devastated forests that we on the Western Slope travel to see. I would encourage you to take a trip, look what's happening to our forests, and then get on board for fixing the problem. Thank you.
Representative Mitch Bush.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
And with you.
I rise in strong support of House Bill 16-1255. Routt County, which is my home county, had one of the first incidences of spruce beetle kill in 1997. Since then, of course, both spruce beetle and pine beetle have spread throughout our state. At the same time, budgets for mitigation, both at the federal and state level, have declined fairly radically. This bill provides for demonstration projects to look at new ways of cooperatively managing our forests to protect our watersheds. As the representatives both said, our watersheds are in great danger after a catastrophic fire that burns the ground because runoff increases, siltation increases, it destroys habitat. So this is really an important bill for all our state, but especially for those areas that have already experienced this beetle kill, and so I would urge a yes.
Representative Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I have asked the majority leader to put a picture up on the screen.
The photo is displayed. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Wolf Creek Pass. If you look at that, more than 90% of the trees are dead. This is what we're talking about. There are about 4 million acres, I believe, 5 million acres in Colorado that look almost like this. You'll see that there's a few younger green trees within those dead trees. If we do not manage this and get those dead trees out of there, if there is a fire, it will burn all of the green trees as well as the dead trees. It is frustrating to me that when we should be cutting many, many more trees than we are, federal regulations keep us from doing that. Roadless area is in this area. We cannot cut those trees in some of this area because of federal regulation, and I might add some state regulation. This bill, though, will help to start us down the road to doing the right thing. But we need to move quickly. These trees are only good for about 5 years, those dead trees. After 5 years, they will be worthless. They will fall down. They will be a tinderbox for another fire. Wildlife can't get through there. Livestock can't graze. Nothing can be done in these areas. I am in strong support of 1255, but we need to do more. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1255. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. House Bill 1255 passes. Mr. Kohler, please read the title of House Bill 1035.
House Bill 1035 by Representative Leonard concerning the scope of statutes making the issuance of securities by public utility conditional on approval of the Colorado Public Utilities Commission in connection therewith, clarifying that the approval requirement applies only to electric and gas utilities.
Representative Leonard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There is no committee report for this, so I move House Bill 1035.
To the bill.
Thank you. Members, this bill is a clarification of a statute. In my district up in Evergreen, there are private water companies that maintain water infrastructure. one of the private water companies that serves 300, along with other ones. When they expand their infrastructure, they need to borrow money. When they went to a lender, they found that there's a clause in the statute that looks to say that the PUC has to approve the borrowing of debt for these private water companies. In fact, it only approves debt for gas and electric companies. And so this is a clarification that makes it perfectly clear in the statute that, in fact, the approval of debt is just for gas and electric companies and for no other. So the testimony that we heard from the Attorney General's office says that, in fact, yes, the statute is not clear, and this language does clear it, and the PUC also testified that said, in fact, this is the correct way to interpret it. So this is a cleanup of that. Party support, there's no fiscal note on this because it's a clarification, and I ask for your support of this bill. Thank you.
Representative Tyler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I must say, Representative Leonard, I had a pretty pessimistic view of this bill when I first started. I looked kind of askance at it. I have some water companies in my district that are making everybody crazy, and I'm wondering why we're exempting those. But given the scope of the bill, exempting for certain reasons, I think this is a good bill, and I would ask you to support it. Vote yes on this Representative Leonard bill.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1035. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. House Bill 1035 passes. Mr. Kohler, please read the title of House Bill 1093.
House Bill 1093 by Representatives Ransom and Ryden, also Senator Tate, concerning measures to increase the accuracy of elector information contained in the statewide voter registration database.
And then you explain the amendment, or vice versa.
Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1093 and the committee report.
To the committee report. Representative Ryden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, this is a really important bill for our county clerks. What it does is it updates and makes the process of address changes more efficient and more accurate. And we worked really hard to bring all the parties to the table and to get this amendment to the bill. And I urge your support of the committee report.
Is there any further discussion on the State Affairs Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the State Affairs Committee report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Aye. Opposed, no. The State Affairs Committee report passes. To the bill. Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As Representative Ryden just specified, this bill allows county clerks to update voter records. It brings us in compliance with the National Voter Rights Act. It also is supported by the Secretary of State's office, several county clerks that came to testify, America Votes, Common Cause, League of Women Voters. Anyway, everybody loves the bill that we could bring but once we got the amendment put on. So it allows us to keep voter information current, and it also specifies how we do the confirmation cards / correspondence. And again, part of that is bringing us into compliance with the national requirements. I urge an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Ryden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I would just like to add that this did pass out of the State Veterans and Military Affairs Committee with a 9-0 vote. I thank Representative Ransom for working with all sides to come to an agreement and to get us a really good bill, so I urge I vote on House Bill 1093.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1093. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, no. House Bill 1093 passes. Mr. Kohler, please read the title of House Bill 1190.
House Bill 1190 by Representative Dorr, concerning the use of deadly force in a detention facility.
Representative Dorr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1190. There is no committee report.
To the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, this bill is actually a clarifying legislation that has come about because of an issue, a couple legal cases in the past year regarding the use of the immunity which we call in Colorado the Make My Day law, which stems from the Castle Doctrine, but its ability to be used as an immunity inside the prison system. And there have been a couple cases recently where there has been a murder inside the prison. The individual who committed the crime used this immunity, saying that the perpetrator in this case, came into his jail cell and shanked him 90 times, and then said that, well, he was entering my castle, my home, so I defended myself. There was no intent, as we look back at the legislative history, that this was to cover prison cells. Prison cells are not dwellings, as we would define dwellings. They are not your home. You did not go find a real estate agent to buy your prison cell. And we are going to make this more clarifying and put language into statute which says that dwelling does not include, the language exactly will say that unless context otherwise, a dwelling does not include any place of habitation in a detention facility. I ask for a yes vote.
Representative Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good bill, vote yes.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1190. All those in favor say aye. Oh, Representative Court.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Though some of us on the Judiciary Committee are kind of confused about why we didn't see this in Judiciary, Representative Dorr, because it sounds like a Judiciary Committee kind of bill.
Representative Dorr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Court, I do not make that decision. There is a speaker in this process, of which you have elected, that makes the decisions on where these go. And so while I think there's, she probably didn't want Judiciary debating it for 3.5 hours when it only took 20 minutes for state affairs.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, considering that you sit on Judiciary, Representative Dorr, and you contribute to the 3.5-hour discussions, I can appreciate where you're coming from.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none this time. The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1190. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. House Bill 1190 passes. Mr. Kohler, please read the bill of Senate. Please read the title of Senate Bill 107.
Senate Bill 107 by Senator Cook, also Representative Pabon, concerning the regulation of voter registration drive circulators in connection with requiring circulators to complete mandatory training.
Representative Pabon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I move Senate Bill 107. There is no committee report.
To the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, Senate Bill 107 is a very straightforward bill about voter registration drives that happen all over the state of Colorado. They primarily happen, as I'm sure familiar, in the summertime. Festivals all over your districts, in metro area, in Salida, and everywhere in between. And what we had over the course of the last cycle is an issue where there were voter registration drives that were going in close proximity to a June primary. And when you have these close timing, when a voter registration form has to go to a county clerk or recorder, there simply sometimes isn't enough time to process those forms. And so we didn't want to leave the voter with the expectation that they would be registered in time for the primary ballot. So what this says is if you're engaging in a voter registration drive, then you should disclose to the potential voter that if you want to vote in the primary, you need to go online or go to your clerk, that your voter registration form may not serve as a proper registration for the primary ballot or within the November ballot, depending on what it may be. So that was one issue we addressed in the bill. So that means that we can continue to engage in these festival work and voter registration. Representative Wilson's looking at me like, yep, I know exactly what you're talking about, Representative Pabon. And then the other thing we did was simply require that if you're a circulator for the voter registration drives, that you too will have to do a training and in addition to the organizer. So this has the support of the Secretary of State, Common Cause, and everyone in between. So that's just how you do voter registration bills, I think, in Colorado, bipartisan or nonpartisan support, and ask for your aye vote.
Representative Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, this is a good bill. A lot of this is in current rule, in the Secretary of State rule. However, I think adding into statute gives us some consistency if we do have a change in Secretaries of State. And I do think that voter registration and making sure that we have a good process for how that's done is the proper role of government. So I urge a yes vote.
Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And since we've had a lively discussion today about the effective dates and clauses, I was wondering if the sponsor might consider it a friendly amendment to say the effective date would take place when Representative Pabon felt the burn.
Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Minority Leader, for bringing that up. Would you maybe consider a substitute amendment saying that the effective date won't be until Donald Trump is president?
Is there any further discussion? See none. The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 107. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Senate Bill 107 passes. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
You have heard the motion. See no objection. The committee will rise and report.
The House will come back to order. Mr. Kohler, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Madam Speaker, Committee of the Whole begs leave reports under consideration following attached bills being second reading thereof and makes final conditions thereon. House Bills 1035, 1093, amended 1136, amended 1165, amended 1190, 1255, amended, passed on second reading in order of gross placed on counter for third and final passage. Senate Bill 107 passed on second reading in order of revised placed on counter for third and final passage. House Bill 1100 laid over until March 7th, retaining its place on the calendar. House Bill 1118 laid over until June 1st.
Representative Garnett. You have heard the motion, and there are no amendments. The question before the House is the adoption of the Committee of the Whole. Mr. Kohler, please open the machine, and members proceed to vote. Representatives Danielson, Del Grosso, Lawrence, Melton, Tyler. Representative Lawrence excused. Close the machine. With 64 ayes, no noes, and 1 excuse, the report of the Committee of the Whole is adopted. Message from the Senate.
Madam Speaker, the Senate has adopted and transmits herewith Senate Joint Resolution 12.
Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to suspend the rules for the immediate consideration of SJR 12.
The motion is to suspend the rules for immediate consideration of SJR 12. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no.
So do I move?
That motion carries. Mr. Kohler, please read the title of SJR 12.
Senate Joint Resolution 12 by Senators Martinez, Humanic, and Todd, also Representatives Primavera and Sias, concerning the recognition of March 2016 as Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month.
Representative Primavera.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move Senate Joint Resolution 16-12 and ask that it be read at length.
Whereas colorectal cancer is the third most commonly diagnosed cancer and the second most common cause of cancer deaths for men and women in the United States. And whereas colorectal cancer affects men and women equally. And whereas every 3 minutes someone is diagnosed with colorectal cancer and every 10 minutes someone dies from colorectal cancer. And whereas in 2016, physicians will diagnose an estimated 134,490 new cases of colorectal cancers in the United States, including 1,790 new cases in Colorado. And whereas in 2016, the disease will kill an estimated 49,190 individuals in this country, including 650 in Colorado. And whereas the vast majority of colon cancer deaths can be prevented through proper screening and early detection. And whereas only 39% of colorectal cancer patients have their cancers detected at an early stage. And whereas the survival rate of individuals who have early stage colorectal cancer is about 90%, but is only about 10% when diagnosed after it has spread to other organs. And whereas if the majority of people in the United States aged 50 or older were screened regularly for colorectal cancer, the death rate from this disease could plummet by up to 70%. And whereas African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, American Indians, and Alaskan Natives are significantly less likely to be screened for colorectal cancer compared to Caucasians. And whereas colorectal cancer is preventable, treatable, and beatable in most cases. And whereas observing a Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month during the month of March would provide a special opportunity to offer education on the importance of early detection and screening. And whereas education can help inform the public of methods of prevention and the early detection of symptoms. And whereas the American Cancer Society is taking a leadership role in educating the public on the methods of prevention and symptoms for early detection. And whereas state governments have a leadership role to play in fighting colorectal cancer by enhancing public education and improving awareness of early detection through the shared goal of 80% of adults aged 50 and older being regularly screened for colorectal cancer by 2018. And whereas the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment should continue to coordinate an aggressive educational program concerning colorectal cancer in conjunction with the medical community and the American Cancer Society. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate of the 70th General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the House of Representatives concurring herein, that we, the members of the Colorado General Assembly, encourage the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, in cooperation with the medical community, the American Cancer Society, and the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network to continue coordinating an aggressive educational program concerning colorectal cancer with the goal of having 80% of adults aged 50 and older regularly screened for colon cancer by 2018. And that we, the members of the Colorado General Assembly, proclaim the month of March 2016 as Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month in the state of Colorado. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to the Great West Division of the American Cancer Society, the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network, and the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment.
Representative Primavera.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And as you all probably know, I hate cancer, and I've lost several of my aunts and uncles to colon cancer. So I wanted to thank the co-chairs for the Cancer Caucus for co-priming this with me, and especially Representative Sias, who's worked with me on this. As the nation marks the 17th Annual National Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month in March 2016, the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network is raising awareness that colorectal cancer is the second leading cause of cancer death among men and women combined in the United States, even though it's one of the most preventable cancers. And we have several people here today from the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network on the floor who are also making sure that we're aware of this horrendous scourge. The National Colorectal Cancer Roundtable is spearheading an initiative to substantially reduce colorectal cancer as a major health problem by working toward the shared goal of 80% of adults aged 50 and older being regularly screened for colorectal cancer by 2018. Over 200,000 lives could be saved by 2030 if we would achieve this goal.
Representative Sias.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank also the members of the Cancer Caucus and certainly Representative Primavera for including me on this. And this is just such an awful disease, and the irony, of course, as Representative Primavera's comments and the resolution point out, is that it is so avoidable if the proper screening is done. I can assure you it is quick and it is painless. And what I would ask not only from each of you, not only to support this resolution, but to take a moment and think about your friends, your colleagues, your family members, and constituents, and take an opportunity to remind them to do this. Go have the test done, write down a little list, and make a few phone calls. And there can be no simpler way to save the life of someone that you care about than making that phone call or having that conversation. Thank you very much for your consideration of this, and I urge your support.
Representative Williams.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I rise in support of SJR 16012 members. And I want to thank Representative Sias and Representative Primavera for her passions around this ugly disease that takes so many of our loved ones. This is very, very personal for me. I lost a brother at age 52 to colon cancer 7 years ago. And I'll share with you that, unfortunately, he didn't take an ounce of prevention. And it was devastating to my brothers and sisters and I and my family to find out that he had colon cancer. And he had gotten so ill that he had to be taken to the emergency room. When the doctors rolled him into surgery and came out and spoke to my parents, the first thing they said was everybody under 40 and his siblings to go get their colon screenings. The doctors had determined that the mass in his colon had been growing for 10 years. 10 years. And to not take an ounce of prevention took his life. Not to mention all of the screenings, all the radiation, and watch him die of this terrible disease. For those of you who are my colleagues of color, I'm going to tell you that normally what your doctors will say, and to everyone, is to get a screening every 5 years. I'm going to tell you, if you're a person of color, I highly recommend you go get a screening every 3 years. Because as Representative Primavera and Zayas have pointed out, we are at higher risk. And I'm going to give you a prime example, is that I went in for a screening in my last 3-year cycle, and they found a polyp. And luckily, it wasn't very big. But within 3 years, and I've had 3 screenings, that they did find a polyp. And I'm going to say to you, please go get your screenings. Because to watch what my brother went through and what you put your family through, it's not fair to you and it's not fair to them if we can prevent this horrible disease. With all of the technology, with all the research that's being done on cancer, this is preventable. It is preventable. And if you don't do it for yourself, do it for your loved ones, because it's a horrible situation to be in. So thank you again, Representative Zayas and Representative Primavera, for continuing to bring this to the legislature so that we can draw awareness in our communities about colon cancer and preventive awareness. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Further discussion, Representative Winholtz.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just to highlight some good news, this can be caught and this can be cured. My husband, they found colon cancer. They went in right away. They got it, they cured it, and he is with us today, and I thank heavens for the screening and that's going on. So I'm very supportive of this bill, and I thank Representative Zayas and Primavera for bringing this forward. Thank you.
Representative Salazar.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Representatives Primavera and Zayas, for bringing this Senate Joint Resolution 12. Yeah, my dad too, he was, they found polyps as well, and they found them early, and they were able to take care of it fairly quickly, but it left a void within us when we found out. I mean, that sinking feeling that you get when you realize that your family member may be in danger of getting cancer, losing their life. I mean, it was just really unsettling. And so, you know, I take a look at page 2, lines 15 through 17, and that should cause us to pause, because this is an issue of poverty as well. When we look at the number of communities of color that are highly affected by this, and the reasons for screening are because of poverty issues. And so I hope that as we move along and as we recognize this resolution and we recognize the scourge that is known as colorectal cancer, that we're able to address the situation of poverty and the lack of screening. We have to do a better job of putting our money where our mouths are when it comes to protecting those who are less fortunate than what we are. So I appreciate the Senate Joint Resolution, and thank you again, Representatives Primavera and Zayas.
Representative Hamner.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and colleagues. I rise in strong support of this resolution. I want to take a moment to talk to the gentleman in the room, because if you are anything like my husband, you do not like to go to the doctor. Sometimes you put it off and you rely on your wife to nag you to make an appointment, or sometimes you let your wife make the appointment for you. I know how you are, right? And I just want to say I have taken my husband kicking and screaming twice, because we're in that age category where we've had to go through colonoscopies now twice. I've taken him kicking and screaming to the appointment. Why do I have to do this? And I hate this. And it isn't very pleasant, I will admit, right? The only good thing is getting it over with. But this most recent time, right before session began, I scheduled his appointment. We had our colonoscopies. And of course, I'm perfect. You're not surprised. I'm fine. Perfect, to be exact. You knew that, though. And my husband, unfortunately, there were 3 precancerous polyps found. And he has to go back in 5 years. I don't have to go back for 10 years. But he was very appreciative. So I just want to send a message to the gentleman. Don't make your wives have to, suffer through getting you to your
House Bill 1019. I believe you've given us some sort of an explanation. Do you want to proceed with more, Representative Kay Becker?
That's it, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much.
Is there further discussion on the question of concurrence on House Bill 1019? Seeing none, Mr. Culler, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Close the machine. With 63 ayes, 2 noes, and no excuse, the motion to concur is passed. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the repassage of House Bill 1019 as amended.
The motion is for repassage of House Bill 1019 as amended. Seeing no discussion, Mr. Culler, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representative Quorum and Landgraf. Close the machine. With 65 ayes, no noes, and no excused, House Bill 1019 is repassed as amended. Co-sponsors. Close the machine. Mr. Culler, please read the title of House Bill 1148.
House Bill 1148, Representative Sias, also Senators Roberts and Kafalis, concerning the oversight authority of the Health Insurance Exchange Oversight Committee with regard to policies that affect consumers proposed by the Health Benefit Exchange.
Representative Sias.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I move that the House concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 1148.
Please proceed, Representative Sias. Explain to us.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. While I wouldn't go so far as to say that the Senate has actually improved the bill, they have at least done no harm to it. They made some minor clarifying changes to the language which do not change the operation of the bill.
Is there further discussion on concurrence on House Bill 1148? Seeing none, the question before us is the concurrence on House Bill 1148. Mr. Culler, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Close the machine. With 65 ayes, no noes, and no excused, the motion to concur on House Bill 1148 is passed. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the repassage of House Bill 1148 as amended.
The motion is for repassage of House Bill 1148 as amended. Seeing no discussion, Mr. Culler, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Close the machine. With 65 ayes, no noes, and no excused, House Bill 1148 is repassed as amended. Co-sponsors. Close the machine. I believe the next order of business is announcements and introductions. Representative court. You're doing fine.
Colleagues.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, this is a public health announcement. Who here has a cold right now? Just about everybody. Who here is going to get a cold very soon? Everybody else, raise your hands. So, in order for us to all stay as healthy as possible, let's all try to practice good hygiene. Let's remember that when we cough that way or that way. Let's remember that when we use our hands to cover our mouths or nose and we use Kleenex, that we wash our hands afterwards. Let's remember if somebody's nearby that we don't cough at them, et cetera, et cetera. This place is a petri dish, folks. Let's try to stay, thank you very much. Let's try to use this as much as possible. So everybody, please, as your house Jewish mother, I'm encouraging you to take good care of yourselves. And if you don't, ask me for chicken soup. Thank you.
Representative Williams.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members of the Business Affairs and Labor Committee, we will hear House Bill 1267, 1270, 1279, and 1096 at 1:30 today. I look forward to seeing you. And members, I just want to remind you that Farmers Insurance is having their reception tonight. It will be held at the Brown Palace at Ellington's from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m., and they look forward to seeing you. Thank you.
Representative Buck.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And they were all here, but I think I see them up there. Wonderful. I just want to welcome Resurrection Christian School out of Loveland, Colorado. Resurrection Christian School is the largest private school in northern Colorado with a strong commitment to education and faith. They cover preschool through 12th and very successful in extracurricular activities. So welcome to your house. Thank you.
Representative Pedersen.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to acknowledge we have the Colorado Education Voice Fellowship teachers who are joining us today. The fellowship is a group of 54 teachers and administrators that focuses on implementation of college and career-ready standards to work to empower outstanding teachers and principals to elevate their voices in the political process. Thank you so much for being here. If you could join me in welcoming our teachers today from the Colorado Education Fellows. Thank you for being here. Also, want to remind everybody that they are having a lunch today at the Sheraton Hotel from 12 to 1, so I really hope that you'll be joining them to learn more about this fellowship and the teachers that are involved in your area. Thank you very much.
Welcome, teachers, and that's a $2 fine, Representative Pedersen. Representative Landgraf.
Madam Speaker, I just have a question for you. Is that not a $2 fine for Madam Speaker for calling Representative Pedersen, Representative Peterson?
Okay. I'm fine with that. I think I'll put that on my IOUs down there. I've got to pay another one, I think. I'll get it done today. Which reminds me, now that we're in announcements and introductions, I think we may have a fairly long list of IOUs on our little jar there. So please look at that and pay your fine, because we will begin to charge interest on the unpaid fines there. So just keep that in mind, please. Representative Foote.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House Finance, we will be meeting at 10:55. That's about 10 minutes or 15 minutes from now. We'll be hearing three bills: House Bill 1269, House Bill 1211, House Bill 1285 over at the Normal Place LSBA. See you then.
Are there further announcements and introductions, except for Representative Landgraf, of course? Oh, Representative Lebsack.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members of the House Local Government Committee were not meeting today.
Further announcements and introductions. Seeing none, Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House stand in recess until later today at 1:30 p.m.
The motion is stand in recess until later today at 1:30 p.m. Seeing no objection, so ordered. We are in recess till 1:30.